Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Coach B Weekly for RMUcolonials.com. I'm Ken Baker, and joined as always by Associate Head Coach and Head Coach in Waiting, Charlie Buscaglia, or as the players and staff affectionately call him, Coach B. Coach B, you're coming off a split weekend, your shortest road trip of the year at St. Francis of PA. You fall in a game that you really made a competitive game. Towards the end, off to a slow start against the Red Flash, but really put together, the effort was there in the fourth quarter, just not exactly the result that you were looking for.
Yeah, we came out with energy and we did some things energy-wise, but we just didn't stick to the game plan, especially offensively, and attack the way that we had planned and practiced going into that game. And we expected it to be much of a better draw as far as going into the game with a real good concept of how we wanted to attack that, and we deviated from that, and obviously it cost us getting behind in the game and being at their flow and their tempo. Really caused us to have more problems than we should have. Defensively, we held them under to what they usually score. I thought we did a good job for the most part of making them work for what they wanted. We had our lapses at times, but it wasn't the defense that really was the issue there. It was the lack of making shots, and I think some of the shots that we took were not the ones that we planned to take, and we deviated too much from our game plan. So, we got to learn from those moments, and that was the story of that game.
Yeah, you shot under 30% for the second straight game. But again, the energy, and I think, the team kind of came together there, a little 10-1 run there in the third quarter. And it looked like they got things figured out a bit offensively, but it might have been too late in Saturday's contest. Now you fast forward to Monday at Mount St. Mary's, and you came out hot right from the beginning. A little switch in the starting lineup. You had Janae Brown in at the starting point guard, and you guys were off to a 4-0 lead just 30 seconds into the game. And Janae played a big part in that with a steal on Mount St. Mary's first possession, and she ran out for a layup. Talk about kind of the change in mindset and certainly the change that Janae brings to your team when she's in the lineup.
Well, the overall idea of staying within the concept of what we were trying to do was a big focus in that game because of how poorly we did that against PA. And putting Janae into the lineup, inserting her in wasn't an easy decision. Ashley had been struggling for a little while now, and we want her to get back to where she can play. So putting Janae in there obviously would spark things and change up the speed of the games, change up the tempo that the team would face. And obviously they weren't expecting that, and Janae took advantage of that by coming out and not just going through the motions. She dug in there, got that steal like you said, got us off to a nice start. And just the overall mindset, not just with Janae being in the lineup, but our whole team of staying to the concepts and the game plan about how we were going to attack them. I think, if you watch us play on Monday, you looked at a completely different team, not because of who we were playing, but just our mental focus on doing the things that we were told to do, and it resulted in getting a lot easier of shot attempts than we took on Saturday.
And you talk about those shot attempts. In the first half, you guys were 14 of 17 on two-pointers, 3 of 10 on three-pointers, and for a team that's been kind of working outside in for the most of the season, I think getting those easier looks certainly helped you guys a bit.
We did a nice job of interior passing with the post players. We did a nice job of driving to the basket. Our guards did a good job of taking care of the ball when they had to, and our shot attempts were a lot better. I mean, we just seemed to have a better focus, and our interior passing was much stronger, and that led to a lot of those better attempts at the basket, and that's why I think we, not only did we focus well to finish, but our shot attempts were much better.
Yeah, now let's fast forward to that game. The end of the contest, Mount St. Mary's just wouldn't go away, and what I was impressed with was how well your team kept the cool about them. I mean, for a team that's had its struggles in the last couple of weeks, I didn't see a whole lot of panic out of your squad, even though Mount St. Mary's kept punching until the end.
They turned up the pressure a little bit. They started doubling the ball, and, those are things that we have to be ready for. When teams are down late in games, especially down double digits, they're going to change things up because at that point, a lot of teams are going to figure that, the game plan isn't going to beat us, and they have to change things and try to see if they could speed us up or make us play a different way, and that's what they did. And, we fought back at times and did a good job of burning it, but there was too many instances of throwing the ball away, turning the ball over, forgetting our responsibilities when teams were doubling us, whether they're doubling us early or waiting for us to get over half court. And, those are things we have to work on, and it's things that we've seen before in the past, but when you don't see them for a little while, teams will sometimes, get lackadaisical when it comes to how to attack it. So, it's good for us. It was good for us to see that again, and hopefully now the next time we see it, we'll be a little bit more ready for it, and we will be able to extend that lead going late into the fourth quarter instead of, bringing them back into the single digits like they did.
Now let's get on to this upcoming weekend. You guys take on Bryant and Central Connecticut State in back-to-back games. You guys, seems like just about a couple weeks ago, came back from that road trip where you picked up losses at both Central Connecticut and Bryant. 2 close games, but this is a first-place Bulldogs team coming into the Sewell Center. You're looking for a different result. How do you ensure that you're going to get that result against the Bulldogs this week?
Well, they're playing with a lot of energy, Bryant. They're off to a great start. Being undefeated at this point in the season when you're past the halfway point is a great accomplishment, and I'm sure that right now they feel that they're rolling and they're winning close games. They're winning games by wide margins, so they're testing themselves with both waters as far as winning the close ones and then also opening up big leads and keeping them against other teams. So, this kind of game is something where, you've had a chance to play them now head-to-head. You saw some of the things that they did. They saw some of the things that we did. So now we're going to have to make sure that we do a better job of correcting the things that we need to do better against them. And they're probably saying the same thing. It's really going to be what team adjusts more and goes out there and learns from that first game. And, now we're at home as opposed to last time we were on the road. And I thought we fought pretty hard there at their place. We came up short. But at home sometimes it's a little bit better for you. And we're going to give it our all, and hopefully we'll be the team that knocks them off the first.
And certainly with Bryant, that's a team that they can get scoring and contributions from anybody. There's no real superstar in the team. I mean, you have Ivory Bailey is obviously a go-to player for them, but they can hurt you in a couple of different ways, and that's a tough team to play.
Well, they returned the Player of the Year of the conference in Rucker, and they have Bailey, who's obviously a player that can go inside and out, driving to the basket, and also, is able to shoot the three pretty well. And they try to hit you early. They push the ball pretty well and get it up the floor, and they try to attack you early. And Orlander can come out and shoot the three a little bit for them. And she's a steady high post player as well as down low. And they just test you in just about a lot of different areas. So, you got to make sure that you come really hard to play. You got to take away the things that they do really well, and you got to control the tempo again. They're a type of team that'll get up and press you a little bit too, and throw some things at you once in a while to try to change tempo or test the waters with you. And you just got to be ready. At the end of the day, we've seen what they've done. We've seen it on film. We saw it head to head now, and they have some weaknesses, and we got to do a good job of taking advantage of those.
Yeah, and Rucker, certainly, I don't know how I managed to overlook her, but certainly she's a force for Bryant. Going past that, into Central Connecticut State, I know you guys take them one game at a time, and you haven't had a whole lot of chance to look at it, but that's a team that defensively has been playing really well lately, and that's going to create a bit of a challenge for you guys on Monday. Now, I know you haven't had a chance to game plan for it yet, but what did you learn from that first meeting against the Blue Devils?
They zoned us pretty much the whole game, most of the game, and they did some different things. And, we saw a lot of the things on film afterwards that we could have done so much better, but we just didn't really prepare ourselves real well to go out there and to face that. And we should have been. It was a situation, again, where you had a one day in between, and, we're used to down the road where you're at the hotel and you got to really go by the film, and your practice on Sunday's a lighter one, and, you're really just going over strategy, and you really got to mentally be there for those road trips on that second game that hey, we're not going to be able to go as hard and drill things at practice, but we have to come out ready to handle it in the game. And that's where your veteran leadership and your standard that you set in the locker room is there, and it gets exposed. And we got to do a better job of understanding that teams are going to play us differently. And whenever they play us differently, we've got to be able to show them that, hey, we're going to knock you right out of this defense you're trying to play with us. And that day, on that night on Monday night, we did not do a good job of threatening them at all with the defense that they played. And we got off to a very, very slow start, I remember that game. And we got to do a much better job of coming out of the gate, knowing that they're going to throw different things at us, and focusing on the mental part of the game about how we're going to attack things, and just really go after it much more than we did early on.
And you're back to the Sewell Center this weekend. Over 80% in conference play winning percentage in the last 13 seasons here at the Soul Center? What's it mean to be here at the Chuck? Why do you think that's such a big difference and such an advantage for you guys?
Well, there's a few different philosophies. I think everybody is a little bit more comfortable being at home. Sleeping in your own bed and coming out of your own locker room and being in your daily routine. We're in this routine out of our locker room and out to the court, 95% of the time. That's just your daily routine. So I think that being comfortable with that helps a lot. Shooting in the same lighting, the same depth perception, the same court, the same rims. I mean, it all kind of comes together when it comes to why people play at home so more. Obviously, the crowd has a lot to do with it too. You have your band, the noises on certain situations instead of others. You go into different gyms and it's very, very loud. You can't even communicate from across the court because the acoustics or whatever, and you're just used to all those things. So I think it all goes together. And reason why maybe some teams struggle when they come out to our place is the same reason why they might struggle when they go to PA, is because most teams in this conference are used to shorter travels as opposed to how we're used to always, except for when we play PA, which is the only game we can get out there in the same day. We've got to go the night before, and we've got to go long, we've got to fly, we got to do all types of arrangements to handle our travel in the conference. And when teams come here and play us, we always hear, "Oh, this is the brutal trip. This trip is brutal." And assistant will say it, or a head coach will say it. And we look at them and we laugh and we say, "Hey, we do this how many times? You guys do this once, and you're complaining about it." But I think that also has a big thing to do with it too. Is that you get set in the way that you travel and the way you do things, and to them this is brutal because this is a far trip for them, and they're not used to it. So I think it all kind of comes together. As much as it's a disadvantage for us having to go and play much further away from our home all the time, when teams come out here, it's a little bit of a shock for them, and we got to take advantage of it. And over the years we've done a good job of playing really well at home and taking care of business on the most part.
All right, and we'll see if your Colonials can take care of business when they take on the Bryant Bulldogs this Saturday at 1 o'clock, part of a men's and women's doubleheader. And then Robert Morris back in action right here at the Chuck on Monday night. They'll take on Central Connecticut State in a 7 p.m. game. For RMUColonials.com and Associate Head Coach Charlie Buscalia, I'm Ken Baker.